Now I'm going to teach you how to use hammer-ons with chords. Other people will teach you how to use hammer-ons in conjunction with solos. Basically, a hammer-on is anytime you hit a note and then you take a finger and instead of playing it with your right hand, all you're doing is hammering on your finger and adding that additional note without picking it again. So this note is picked, bum, and this note is hammered on, bum. And all I did to make the sound was just to hit it really hard with the pad of my finger, just hammering my finger on. Now that's useful for soloing. It's useful for that. It's also useful in certain types of chord formations that I taught you, especially in the key of G and in the key of C. Now if you learn those chord formations in the key of C that I taught you, you'll be able to use hammer-ons quite beautifully to add accent and flourish to what you're already playing. I won't go over how to learn C, so go back to the other video to learn that. But here's the C chord. Now in this formation, it's your middle finger that's going to be doing the hammering on. Here's the effect of it. Do you hear this? Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. That's for the C. And what that does is it moves from a note 2 to the note 3. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. Now you learn that and you go up to your F formation and do the exact same thing in your F formation. Ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. Here's how it works when you're transitioning in a song between a C chord and an F chord. In addition to a hammer-on, you can also do a pull-off, which is what I just did. Ba-dum, dum, ba-dum. I actually play the note, and then I pull it off. I'm kind of plucking it a little bit as I pull off. So I'm doing a bit of hammering on and pulling off. What that's useful for is just creating some color. You can also do that in the key of G. It's a little bit harder because it's a lower note, so it's harder to hear, but you go to your G and you again hammer on your middle finger. It's hard to hear. I don't play it all that well. But an even cooler hammer on when you're in that G mode from your C to your G is you let go of these two fingers and you put your index finger on the B string on fret 1 and you put your middle finger on the D string on fret 2. And you hammer both of those on at the same time. It's a bit harder to learn, but here's how it sounds. I'm hammering this one on, and I'm hammering this one on. And then I can pull both of them off. Here's the net effect. If you remember the A minor that we learned, it's basically doing that A minor underneath your G. So your G basically gets truncated to these two fingers here, but then you're doing an A minor underneath that. And it's just a nice color while you're vamping on a G chord. So here's the net effect. Here's what these hammer-ons can do for a song that you're playing in the key of C or fingering in the key of C. 3, 4. And here's A minor. You can even hammer that one on too. Key of C is my favorite key to do hammer-ons. One of the songs that I do this in is Jesus I Come. Capo up 2, so we're playing in D, but we're fingering in C. Watch these hammer-ons as I sing the song. Out of my bondage, sorrow and night, Jesus I come, Jesus I come. Without me singing. Jesus I come to thee. Jesus I come to thee. Nice little effect you can do. It's one where I regularly use hammer-ons. Let me show you a few other tricks really fast in different keys. The key of D often sounds like a lot of guitarists can't play it smoothly because you're moving from different chord formations that have few notes that carry through. The way that you can mitigate some of that is by playing some hammer-ons. It beautifies it and kind of connects it a little bit. Here's your typical D chord, and I'm going to move from a D to an A. What I'm going to do is when I get to the A, I'm going to hammer on the sus and then pull it off. A sus. Let's do an up close of that. A. A sus. A. Here's how it sounds. Not as smooth as I'd like it, but still smoother. And actually I'm pulling off and hammering on my middle finger. Here's the A. Let me teach you one trick in the key of D for the G chord. If you are just doing your G that I taught you in the G lesson, but you take your index finger off and you actually hammer it on to the G string, it creates this sound. And in the key of D, that's a real nice effect. So here are some hammer-ons in D. Again, use your middle finger on the D. And you can even go up to the sus. Here's an A sus, and a G. Add 9. Those will give you some nice effects for that. The same thing can be done in the key of G too. When we're playing G and playing these chords. Instead, I'm hammering on my index finger when I get to the C chord, which you should have learned in a previous video. Here's a hammer. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Here's the hammer on. Ba-dum, ba-dum. I'm exaggerating a little bit. Hammering on the sus. Pulling off.